This is the fourth part of a 10-part series of 100 questions. So over here I have discussed 1-mark questions because that generally covers most of the basic concepts. So you need to sketch the field lines around a system of two equal and opposite point charges. So suppose this is a positive charge plus Q and this is a negative charge minus Q. Now the electric field lines will be from the positive to the negative charge, and remember that the field lines don't intersect each other. So draw them so that they are not cutting each other, and since this is a positive charge, the electric field will be outward. This is seemingly a very simple question, but you must practice drawing the field lines, otherwise you'll find it difficult to draw it in an exam. So the electric field lines are from the positive to the negative charge, outward from the positive charge, and inward for the negative charge. You can just think of this mentally, like you have field lines in this way, and like this. So these are parts of those incomplete field lines. Ground waves are used for communication purposes, and in this case the wave glides over the surface of the earth. And this mode of communication or transmitting waves is generally used for very low frequencies which are less than a few megahertz. That is done because for such low frequencies the size of the antenna is going to be large, because the length of the antenna required is lambda by 4. So for very low frequencies, a very large antenna will be required. So it's practical to have an antenna close to the ground. Since the antenna is going to be large for these low frequencies, it is kept close to the ground. And say this is the transmitting antenna and this is the receiver over here. And this is the surface of the earth, which is actually a little curved. So the ground waves will travel like this along the surface of the earth. Now these waves cannot actually travel too far, because as they travel over the surface of the earth, a current is induced in the surface of the earth. So these waves get attenuated, which means that they lose their energy. These waves to travel a greater distance will depend on the conductivity of the surface over which they are traveling. So these waves actually travel better over water as compared to the earth. You don't need to write down all this for a 1-mark question. All you need to say is that ground waves glide over the surface of the earth and they're used for very low frequencies. The work function of the metal is given by, say we denote this by phi naught, then this can be written as H times nu naught, where H is Planck's constant and nu naught is the threshold frequency. Now we can express this frequency in terms of wavelength. So we have Hc by lambda, and say we denote this as the threshold wavelength as lambda naught. Now which has a higher work function, if the work function is more, that means the wavelength of the incident radiation should be less. So lambda for this case should be less than lambda for this case. So this is the threshold value of the wavelength. So this value, and this is also a threshold value of the wavelength for a metal whose work function is 4 electron volt. So this will have a higher value of wavelength than this, because this is a lower value of frequency as compared to this. Say we have two equal positive charges. We'll just take two equal positive charges, and now we need to sketch the field lines around this. So for a positive charge, you know that the field lines are going to be outward. Now since these charges are going to repel each other, the field lines have a pattern like this. It shows that the charges repel each other. And remember that these field lines don't cross each other. So don't draw intersecting field lines. And the field lines start at a positive charge and end at a negative charge. So in this case, we have a positive charge, so the field lines are all outward. The force on a charged particle moving in a magnetic field is given by F is equal to Q V cross B, where V is the velocity, V is the magnetic field, and Q is the charge on the particle. Now this says that the force has to be 0, because the proton does not get deflected. So if the force is 0, that means that V cross B has to be 0. Now V cross B is equal to magnitude of V times magnitude of B times sine theta. This means that sine theta equal to 0 gives a possible condition when the force on the charged particle is 0. So if sine theta is 0, that means that the charged particle has a velocity v and it enters in the direction of the magnetic field. This is the direction of the magnetic field and this is the direction which the charged particle moves. So the answer to this question would be sine theta equal to 0. Now just a little bit of extra information in this. Say you have a magnetic field in this direction and a charged particle enters in this direction, which means the angle between the velocity vector and the magnetic field is 90 degrees. In that case, the charged particle will move in a circular path around the magnetic field. It's like the charged particle starts going around the magnetic field. Now this is if it enters in a horizontal direction. Now let's say the charged particle enters the magnetic field at an angle. So say this is the velocity vector. In this case we will resolve this velocity into two components. One is in this direction, which is perpendicular to the magnetic field, and another in this direction, which is parallel to the magnetic field. Now due to this component of velocity which is perpendicular to the magnetic field, the charged particle will execute a circular path. But due to this component of velocity in the vertical direction, it will also have a component in this direction, so the path will become helical. And the velocity in this vertical direction is this vertical component which is parallel to the magnetic field. So in this case the path will be helical, whereas if it is completely perpendicular to the magnetic field, then the path will be circular. This is a mode of propagation of the waves in which the ionosphere is used to reflect the waves back to the surface of the earth. say this is the surface of the earth and these are the layers of the ionosphere. Now the radio signals which are to be transmitted say at a location somewhere over here, say we have the receiver located over here. Now the waves are sent over here into the sky and they get reflected from the ionosphere. This is the ionosphere. So the waves get reflected from this and reach another point on the earth. So this reflection from the ionosphere is actually total internal reflection. Just as you have in optics, so this is total internal reflection that takes place. And waves which are propagated through sky waves are generally in the range from 3 to 30 megahertz, because if waves of higher frequency are used, then they go through the ionosphere and they don't get reflected back. So if you're asked for what is a sky wave is a wave that gets reflected from the ionosphere, and the waves used in this frequency range are from 3 to 30 megahertz. The angular frequency of the charged particles that enter the magnetic field, that is given by omega is equal to QB over M, which means that their angular frequency depends on the magnetic field and the charge to mass ratio. The charge to mass ratio is different for different particles. For instance, if you have a proton or a alpha particle, the charge to mass ratio would be different. So the angular frequency does not depend on the velocity. Hence, in this case, the ratio of their angular frequencies will be 1:1. Okay, now just a little bit more explanation to understand this. See, if this is the direction of the magnetic field and the particle enters perpendicular to the magnetic field, this particle is going to move in a circular path. Whereas this particle, since it enters the field at an angle of 30 degrees to the magnetic field, it is going to move in a helical path. So that is the difference in the paths of the two particles, though their frequency remains the same, which means they are going to make the same number of revolutions in 1 second. An N-type semiconductor is electrically neutral because you have an excess of negative charge, but you have exactly an equal amount of positively charged cores. So the net charge on an N-type semiconductor is 0. Suppose this is an N-type material, and if these are the dopant atoms, which in case of N-type material could be arsenic, phosphorus, antimony, etc., a pentavalent atom. So in that case, these would be positively charged cores and each of them would have a free electron. So you can see that the total amount of positive and negative charge on the material adds up to 0. Besides, we first have a material, a semiconductor material, say silicon or germanium. Now, when you're doping it, you're adding some atoms. You're not adding any charges. So since you're adding atoms, atoms are neutral. So the material cannot get charged. It's just that the charges are separating. The negative charges are moving away, but the negative charges are not leaving the material. So the material as such remains electrically neutral. This is due to the electric currents which will flow inside the material due to electromagnetic induction. So the answer to this would be due to the electric currents that flow inside the material, inside this material piece, this metallic piece that is surrounded by the coil. Say suppose this is a piece of metal and you have a coil wrapped around this, and the coil is connected to a high frequency alternating source. Now when a current flows through the coil, you have a magnetic field all around this coil, and since the current is an alternating current, the current is a varying current. So since the current varies, the magnetic field produced by this current will also vary. So we get a varying magnetic field. Now you know that a varying magnetic field will produce an induced EMF, which by Faraday's law is given by E is equal to minus d phi over dt. This induced EMF will produce electric currents, which are also known as eddy currents. Now these electric currents will flow inside the metallic piece, and due to these electric currents the material will get heated up.